Oh, didn't see you there. Didn't see you there. Welcome back to the channel. It's RJ. I have lots of videos that are half edited that I lack the motivation to finish. Um, and I want this channel to have variety. So I thought I would just give you guys a simpler video to make. That's something I'm really interested in. Um, on this channel, I want to have some variety, but there are themes. The kind of three things I'm going to be making videos about. One, art stuff. I love to make it, love to consume it. Two, dolls. Lifelong special interest, will never shut up about them. Three, a book and movie reviews, because I love to consume media. Um, this video specifically is me straight up stealing Frankie's Shelves format. Um, because I have watched every single one of their videos. I love watching book reviews. I love watching spoiler-filled book reviews of books I know I'm not going to read. But the good books Frankie reads that I end up reading, I like to go back after I've developed my own thoughts about them and see like what he and other YouTubers thought about them in detail. So that's the video I'm making today. I'm going to talk about this book, But Not Too Bold, by, I will look up how to pronounce that. I believe their name is pronounced Hache Pueyo. It's a very short book. I'm going to go over in general how I felt about it, spoiler free review, and then get into everything that happens in the book, um, and my more detailed thoughts on the plot and the writing. And I'll give you a warning once the spoilers are going to start. So let's just get right into it. Be bold, but not too bold. Is about a gorgeous, big Art Nouveau house that an archaic being commissioned to be built. She's the owner. An archaic being owns this house, and it's about the main character, Dahlia. I'm gonna say Dahlia. Yeah, I was right. Anyways, main character, um, and everyone else that lives in the house are there exclusively to serve the archaic being, their madam, um, Anatema, who is a arach- arachnid humanoid archaic being who is huge and very picky, and everyone in this house serves her. It also, on the back, says The Shape of Water meets Mexican Gothic in this sapphic monster romance novella wrapped in Gothic fantasy trappings. That's all I needed to hear. I'm a freak, you got me right there. So, right off the bat, I rated this 4.5 stars, which is the highest I've rated a book in a long time. Very short, read it in one day. You can read it in a couple hours. I liked the descriptions in this book. They were very beautiful without being too drawn out. Um, there are no slow points in this book. Something is always happening, and there's a mystery. And anytime there's a mystery plot, I get through that shit fast. If you are looking for a bisexual question mark, sapphic, a monster fucking romance, there's no explicit anything in this book, but implied bisexual question mark, sapphic monster fucking romance, super short. I liked it. 4.5 stars. Now, spoilers start, because I'm going to talk about everything that happens. Like I established, archaic beating on the tema, um, big spider lady, terrifying and gorgeous. The main character has lived in the house her entire life. Her and a lot of the other servants are orphans that were brought to the house specifically to run this big ass, gorgeous Art Nouveau decorated house and serve the archaic being. The role that she has specifically been trained for is called the key holder, or the keeper of the keys. And the woman that is her mentor and has raised her whole life is was the current keeper of the keys. At the beginning of the book, passes away, handing down the role of keeper of the keys to the main character. However, the previous Keeper of the Keys passing is a huge part of the plot because she was eaten by Anatema, the archaic being. Anatema just kind of eats anyone who pisses her off, or inconveniences her, or looks at her the wrong way. It's unclear what part of her you're supposed to look at, but she generally doesn't like being seen, and she, for most of the book, interacts with people from behind things. I can't think of what they're called. Folding screen dividers, like for dressing rooms. Basically, most of the people in the house never see her. They just interact with her through a screen um, where you can just see her silhouette. And she doesn't like to be seen. And she eats anyone who pisses her off. So the Keeper of the Keys is in a very precarious position because you are the one-on-one interacting with her the most. Only women are allowed up on the third floor where Anatema lives. Anatema never travels to the rest of the house. And as the Keeper of the Keys, you have to know her very intimately, her preferences, to avoid being eaten. The reason the Keeper of the Keys would be talking to her all day is this house is full of secrets. It's full of secret little drawers and gorgeously described Art Nouveau architecture, Art Deco architecture. One of the main duties of the Keeper of the Keys is to unlock these drawers that hold memories. They're like little dioramas that Anatema weaves out of her special magic webs. She weaves memories of people that she has eaten. So every person she's eaten, she has a little memory diorama box that she's woven to commemorate them. And the dioramas can move. Like, there's a little doll in each one of the person that mimics that person's movements. They don't have faces, the little dolls, but everything is very lifelike and just like gorgeous and magical and beautiful. Most of the people that Anatema has eaten are her brides. Anatema is a lover of pretty ladies. Pretty much the function of the entire house is to facilitate all her whims. The main want and need is brides. So women from all over are brought to the house and presented to her as suitors, and all of them get eaten eventually. The brides usually don't last very long. I can't remember how long the longest one lasted. I don't think it was more than a couple weeks though. So she is just an appreciator and consumer, literally and figuratively, of pretty women. Where the mystery comes in is the last key keeper has been eaten because she pissed off Anatema. And what pissed Anatema off is that she suspects the Keeper of the Keys of stealing a doll from the last memory box she wove. The last memory box she wove was to commemorate her last bride that she ate. And the last bride that she ate pissed her off by being unfaithful. And how that bride was being unfaithful was receiving letters from an anonymous lover? An anonymous admirer. And Anatema found the letters and was like, what the fuck? You have another bitch? And I can't blame her. Actually, we'll get into that. But Anatema suspects the last Keeper of the Keys of stealing the doll from the box that she worked very hard to make. Those are her memories. She literally, like, imbues the weavings with memories. And she's incredibly pissed off. Eats a Mathilde, I want to say the last Keeper of the Keys was named. I was correct. Her name was Miss Mathilde. Because she's the Keeper of the Keys. She's the one with access to the memories. And Anatema's pretty sure she's the one that stole the doll. I'm a little fuzzy on this next part. I didn't quite understand. Some of the logic isn't explained. There are a couple plot points where it's like, oh, why did that happen? Like, I'm having a hard time explaining it because I don't fully understand. But Anatema's like, I'm pretty sure it was your predecessor that stole this. I want you to definitively find out who stole it. I'm going to run a little test to see if it was Mathilde or not. And if it was Mathilde, I'm going to eat you too to defend my honor. The keeper of the keys can't be disrespecting me. And I'm just a little confused about why, if it was the last keykeeper who she already ate, why she needs to punish Dahlia too. I don't understand that part. I don't think it's really explained. But maybe I'm dumb. Whatever. To defend her honor. If the last keykeeper really did steal that memory, Dahlia is in for getting eaten too. The other option is that somebody else in the house stole it, and Dahlia needs to find out who. So kind of to save her own skin, Dahlia needs to find out who did it, and hoping it's not her predecessor, because that would mean her getting chomped. A little test that Anatema decides to run is to have Dahlia spend the night with her in the library. And they're just going to hang out all night, keeping Dahlia captive. And if another theft occurs, then they will know that it wasn't the previous keykeeper, it was somebody else in the house, and Dahlia can solve the mystery and live and figure out who did that. But whoever did it's getting eaten. So she spends the night with Anatema. Another theft does occur. I don't understand how they didn't see the second theft occur. Like, I guess maybe they were purposefully not next to the drawers so that if there was a thief around, the thief would feel safe to steal something else. Okay. But you still could have spied on it to see who the fuck it was. Ugh. I don't really understand that part. That's why this gets 4.5, not 5 stars. I'm a little iffy on some plot holes. So another theft occurs, so they know it's somebody else in the house, and it is now Dahlia's job to find out who it was. During this time, Anatema does not have a new bride, and you're understanding throughout the book that she is putting all of her attention on Dahlia. She is like very intrigued by Dahlia. Dahlia is more assertive to her, says things to her that no one else in the house would dare. Not being mean, but just kind of calling her on her bullshit. And looking at her without screens and not being afraid of this spidery, humanoid, archaic, terrifying being. Something I really like about her appearance is that she has some kind of fake skin or facade on her face that looks human, but it is not actually part of her body, or it's not her real face, because when she talks, that skin kind of flaps and you can see the like spidery face underneath. And that is so fucking cool. I love the descriptions of it. Highly recommend reading it to develop your own image of what Onitama looks like, because there's a lot left to the imagination, but the descriptions that are given are gorgeous and intriguing. Let me get on with this goddamn plot. Dahlia ends up investigating other people in the house, questioning them, the people that went up to the 3rd floor that day. Notably, only women are allowed to the 3rd floor. Anatoma is not interested in men. She says something about, like, you little men creatures disgust me. You're not interesting to me. She talks about all humans like little creatures that are just there for her entertainment and interest. And she only really cares about the women, though. They're the only ones that can, like, keep her interest. And even then, not for very long. But, like, she just doesn't give a fuck about the men. You're not interesting to her. So she only interrogates women servants that have been up there, because why would she interrogate a man? The only man in the house really described is sort of like the concierge, who does a lot of Anatema's bidding, but they only communicate through typewritten letters that Anatema types with her spidery fingers, which I love. Dahlia ends up finding in the drawer that a second theft has occurred from. The two things that are missing are the little doll of the last bride and a little letter that was on the stand representing the anonymous admirer letters that she had been getting, that she got chomped for, because Anatema saw that as her being unfaithful. The letter was the second theft, and where the letter was taken from in the box, there were 3 little hairs that look like eyelashes. So she goes around comparing them to all the suspects' eyelashes, she even ends up comparing them to the man in the house, the concierge, Lionel, just to be sure, and it's not his eyelashes either. They don't match anyone's. They're very dark, but like too small to be really anyone's eyelashes. That's when she realizes, oh, these are not eyelashes. This is tarantula hair. I didn't set this up, but the whole house filled with spiders. Spider themes everywhere in this book. Everyone that works in the house has tarantulas as pets. There's so many of them that they even like harvest and eat them. Tarantulas are a big part of the house's ecosystem and they are everywhere. She has a pet tarantula. She inherits the pet tarantula of her predecessor, the last keeper of the keys. She loves them. So yeah, tarantulas are everywhere. This is a very clever little plot twist. Enjoyed it. That these are not human eyelashes, these are tarantula hairs. A tarantula stole the letter. And when she holds the tarantula hairs to the light, she sees a blue shimmer on them, and there's only one pet tarantula in the house with that kind of blue, and it's Lionel's, the concierge's spider. So she's like, fuck, Lionel did it. I like that guy. I have no reason to dislike that guy. Why'd he do that? Why'd he fucking do that? So if he stole the letter, he must have also been the person that stole the doll. And that must mean that he was the one sending the letters and that he was secretly in love with the last bride. Therefore betraying Anatema not only by trying to have an affair with her last bride, but by stealing memories of her. So she's like, fuck Lionel, you fucking idiot. She goes to confront him and she's like, I don't want to tell on you so you'll get eaten, but I kind of have to save my own butt. And he's like, listen, you don't have to do that. And she's like, I'm mad at you because you tried to have an affair with the last bride and then stole memories of her. He's like, no, silly. I wasn't trying to steal the affections of the bride. Like, he's like, you no, that's not the direction my affections lie in. It's you that I am in love with and care about. Remember how Anatema said, if the thief of the doll was your predecessor, you would pay for it? I didn't want you to die, and the last keeper of the keys was in fact who took that doll, and so I needed to commit a second theft to cover for her so you wouldn't pay the price. Does that make sense? All of this is explained in like one page, and it's like kind of hard to place the pieces. It is revealed that the last keeper of the keys had a granddaughter, and her granddaughter was the last bride. For some reason, no one in the house really has familial connections except like the found family in the house. Like everyone's entire job is to keep Anatema happy. Um, and it was a secret that Cecilia, the name of the last bride, was the last keeper of the keys' granddaughter. And those anonymous admirer letters were not romantic in nature. They were just loving letters from a grandmother to her granddaughter she couldn't interact with or acknowledge, which is truly sad and makes you not like Anatema. Um, Anatema is captivating and gorgeous, and she's obsessive about the things that she likes, and it kind of makes you obsessed with her. Like, you're very intrigued by her. And obviously, there is a lot of tension between her and the main character, who has been in the book a stand in for her current bride. Like, she has been the subject of Anatema's affections and attentions, and it's very clear the entire book they are setting up romantic and psychological attention and like mutual obsession between Anatema and the main character. But there's this crazy power imbalance because one of them is a huge fucking monster that is also the main character's employer and also could kill her at any moment. She's very interesting and intriguing, but she is cruel. She Like, the last keeper of the keys was so afraid of interacting with her granddaughter that she had to write her letters in secret for fear of being eaten by Anatema. And then she missed her granddaughter so much after Anatema fucking ate her for the letters that her grandma was sending her, um, that she stole the doll because she just wanted a memory, a piece of her granddaughter that she missed, and then she got eaten for that. It's very sad. And being the lesbian monster fucker that I am, I want to root for a relationship between Anatema and the main character. Obviously, there's moral gray areas. I can appreciate a morally complex relationship. I can root for this happening in the book for the plot, for the interest, and not think that it's a morally healthy relationship. You know what I mean? However, when Dahlia confronts Lionel about this, and he's like, no, I love you. I did this to save you. I stole the letter to save you, and I am willing to die for what I did and essentially die for you. I'm fucking in love with you. She, even though all the tension has been set up between her and Anatema, and not really any tension has been set up between her and Lionel, even then she's like, oh my god, kiss me. And I was just confused. That took me off guard. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, am I reading the names right? And this is specifically advertised as a sapphic monster romance. So I was like, why does she want to kiss this random man so bad? Why do they end up having sex? It's not explicit. There's nothing explicit in this book. You win some, you lose some. Sapphic monster romance implies that the main romance is going to be between her and the monster. And we'll get there, but, like, it just kind of caught me off guard for her to be like, no, I really want this with this man. What I was trying to say here was that sapphic bisexuals are completely valid, but the way this was marketed was a little misleading, and the writing just really made the situation catch me off guard. And it then says that she's been dreaming of something like this, to be touched like this, and to be desired by Lionel. That could have been part of the plot, but you didn't put the pieces there before this moment. In my opinion, this was not implied earlier in the book, and so you're kind of just like taken aback by it. It's not actually that deep. The main character can just be queer and or like bi. I just had a problem with this was not implied at all earlier in the book, and then all of a sudden this man has been in love with you and is willing to sacrifice his life for you, and you're like, I've been dreaming of making out with you my whole life. Let's do it. When that wasn't. You understand. Anyways, so they end up having sex, and then they're like, okay, well, let's go see Anatema, because this can't go on forever. You need to confess, and Dahlia is going to try to, like, convince Anatema not to kill him. So they go up, and he confesses, and he's like, I know where the doll is. It was buried with your last keeper, because that was the last memory she had of her granddaughter. I stole the letter because I wanted to cover for Dahlia, and you can kill me if you want. I'm not going to tell you where the doll is buried. I want it to rest with her grandmother, so you can just eat me about it. And Amatema, fucking furious. No one usurps her like this. No one sends her the wrong color of bowl. No one looks at her face. Another thing in the book, she's very particular about people might mispronounce her name as Anathema, and that is absolutely unacceptable. That has gotten people eaten. It's kind of a running joke throughout the book, like, don't call her Anathema. Her name is Anathema. Can I blame her? No one dares usurp her in these smaller ways. They definitely don't fucking steal from her and then tell her, I stole from you. I'm not going to tell you where the shit is. Eat me about it, bitch. She's furious. But she doesn't immediately eat either of them. She just ends up throwing a fucking fit and becoming a fucking huge, crazy monster. And being like, fuck you guys, fuck you guys, fuck you guys. How dare you steal this shit from me? A detail of the dialogue that I really liked in the book is Anatema speaks in two ways. She can speak in this like telepathic bone rattling voice, or she can talk to you with her vocal cords. And she chooses whichever one she uses for dramatic effect. Um, and that is reflected in the book by using a different font and spacing when she's using her telepathic speaking. And I love it. I loved that detail. It's not overused. Um, a lot of the time in the book, she is just using her vocal cords, but they distinguish between the two, and I thought that was really cool. Obviously, at this point in the book, when she's fucking pissed, she is using that bone rattling telepathy. And she's like, fuck you guys, fuck you guys, fuck you guys. Like, I put my memories into that. I loved that bride. I appreciated my last keeper of the keys. But she crossed me and got eaten, and it's gonna be your turn. She's saying she's gonna eat them. So they flee. They run downstairs. But remember that very few people ever see her actual form, not behind a screen. Few people ever see more than just her silhouette. So she doesn't go to other parts of the house. She stays upstairs. She is actually terrified of going downstairs and hearing all the screeches and horrified reactions from everyone else in the house, even though they know she's not human. They know they're serving an archaic being, but they've just never seen it all, and it freaks humans out. That's part of the reason she loves Dahlia so much, is Dahlia has seen her, looked into her eyes, seen all of her, and is just like, yeah, I'm gonna flirt with you. I actually might be into the monster thing. I think it's beautiful and intriguing. No one else has really treated her like that. I think she like follows them downstairs to screech and then goes back upstairs very quickly. And so some people saw her a little bit, but not really. Like, she's just throwing a fucking fit. That's all that matters. She's throwing a fit. She calls Dahlia back up. Lionel is in the rest of the house scared. And Dahlia goes back up and is tied up with her. I think there's multiple times in the book where Anatema, like, ties her up with her webs, which is like, She's like, I can't kill you until I make my memory box of you. So, where do you want to be? Like, what do you want to be doing in the memory that I make of you? And Dahlia's like, be here with you, queen. I want to be, like, you can kill me, I don't care, but, like, make my memory of me being here with you. Spending time with you in the library and doing the things, like, bonding. And Anatema literally, like, blushes and is like, with me? And doesn't kill her. She ends up just, like, kind of letting her and Lionel go in the house, and everything is back to normal, but no one's seeing Anatema. Everyone's living on edge. And then one day, randomly, Anatema comes downstairs. She kind of folds herself into this mantis position where her big body is kind of behind the front of her body, where she can appear the most human. She contorts her top two limbs, her arms, to look like normal arms, and then won't use her other limbs, so you're not really, like, she's mimicking a human form. And she comes down and she's like, I had a little, tantrum the other day, and I'd like to apologize. Something she does in the book when she has an outburst or is a bitch is apologizes without apologizing. And that's what she does here, where she's like, looks like I had a, unnecessary tantrum. Would you clean that up? And that's her apology. But it's endearing, because she is this archaic being as old as the earth. She doesn't fucking have human manners, like, but she is mellowing herself. She is timid enough to sort of ask forgiveness from Dahlia specifically, and her love for Dahlia kind of inspires her to be nicer to the other people in the house. So they're like, oh my god. All these servants see her for the first time, and they're like, wow, that's what she looks like. Crazy. And Amatema was like, okay, I came down here. I did it. I was brave, Dahlia. You told me that I should open myself up to more people. You told me that I was beautiful, even if other humans are scared of me. So I came down here and I, like, sort of apologized, and I'm going back upstairs now. Is that okay? So she does that and asks Anatema back up. And there are two things I haven't set up throughout the book that I'm going to talk about now. Above the third floor is an attic that literally no one is allowed in. Even Dahlia doesn't know. The keeper of the keys doesn't know what's in the attic. Also, throughout the book, she's been having dreams of being in the attic and being tied up or like blindfolded and being alone with Anatema in like vulnerable positions. Nothing explicit, but it's like she's been having these charged dreams about Anatema the whole book, as well as having interactions with her. Back to the random Lionel romance. Like, never once in the book does she have a dream about Lionel. She just says she has. Pisses me off. Anyways, so Anatema invites her, and she's like, hey, I want you to come to the attic with me. Like, no one has ever been allowed up there before. But I'm not going to eat you. I just want you to come with me to the attic. So Dahlia goes upstairs to the attic with her, and in the attic is this beautiful, large dollhouse that has been crafted with care. It's an exact replica of the huge, gorgeous, beautiful, mysterious house that they are all living in. And in each room is a doll of every servant, everyone that lives in the house, doing their little jobs. And she's just like overwhelmed with the beauty of this, overwhelmed with Anatema, um, grateful to be alive, and also just like, wow, you are such a cool being. I am so intrigued by you, and I want to kiss you. And Anatema goes, I want to ask you something. I don't want you to be the keeper of my keys anymore. I want you to be my bride. And Dahlia goes, well, that's not going to work because I like being the keeper of the keys. But also, I don't want to be your bride. I want to be your wife. And Anatema is like, of course, I love you. You're my favorite person I've ever met. You're my favorite human I've ever met. Yes, you will be my wife. And Anatema is like throwing these flowers in the air over Dahlia and just like showering her with love. And she's like, I'm so glad you're going to be my wife. I can't wait to celebrate being wives. That's kind of the sentiment shared between both of them. And then Anatema's like, but first, before we go tell everyone that we're getting lesbian married, we're alone and you're just mine right now. And then the dream that Dahlia has been having of being like blindfolded and tied up and alone with Anatema in the attic happens. It cuts before anything actually happens, but that dream comes to fruition and they're going to be wives. And I think they both seem content with it. There's nothing that insinuates Dahlia is not content with it, but that is why this gets half a star knocked off. The two kind of gripes I had with the book were those little, just a couple tiny plot holes where it's like, I don't understand why the logic means this. I don't understand why you plan to punish Dahlia for her predecessor's crimes when you already punished the predecessor. I don't understand why Dahlia is like, oh my god, yes, I return your affections, Lionel. I've been dreaming about this, when that has not been evidenced in the book at all. And then the way that you're simultaneously rooting for Anatema and Dahlia to be together in a freaky sapphic monster way, but also like, well, she's got that nice guy right there that she said she likes, and he likes her, and like was willing to sacrifice himself for her, but she's ending up with the monster, and it's like, are you making me root against the sapphic monster romance that you advertise this as? There are lots of ways to analyze that, and that might have been intentional by the author. Something I thought was interesting that echoes my personal experiences as a lesbian was the difference in the book between the romantic relationship with the man and the romantic relationship with the woman monster creature. The relationship with the man is very shallow. Like I said, there's not any lead up to it, and they're just like, oh, we both like each other. Let's have sex. And then they don't really talk about anything deeper than that. But the entire book is about her relationship with Anatema and how deeply emotional and overwhelming. Like her entire life is about Anatema. Her everything is about wanting to keep Anatema happy, being intrigued and obsessed with her, while Anatema's being obsessed with her. Like it's not a healthy relationship, obviously, like I said. But I just thought it was interesting how much more depth and like hit you in the face, over the head, literally rattle your bones, intense her relationship with Anatema was. And that really is what it feels like to be in your first sapphic relationship after only dating men. So like that could be intentional. That could be a way to interpret that. Because not every sapphic relationship is healthy. Like not every gay relationship is fucking healthy. The way that it says literally on the back, sapphic monster romance, you assume that you're gonna want to root for the sapphic monster romance, but it makes it more complicated than that. And you know what? That's oftentimes a sign of a good author, is to make you feel so conflicted about a story. That takes, you know, talent. Um, but just some of the confusing parts, it's hard to feel like it was completely intentional because of some of those little plot holes. So yeah, I really loved this book. This is still, even after listening to my spoiler-filled review explaining the plot in detail, that wasn't even everything. Like they fit a fucking lot in here, and there is more to unraveling the mystery of who stole the items. There's more characters in the book. There's also a whole subplot where there's like poppies everywhere all over the house, and everyone is using opium or like having poppy tea, and like that's a whole other piece to the book that I didn't even cover. There is a lot still here that I didn't talk about, even in the small book, that I think is absolutely still worth reading, and you should read to form your own opinions about it. And please let me know in the comments how you felt. This was just my personal, interpretation and feelings about it. So yeah, I really want to hear from other people. I really want to hear what you guys thought about it, especially fellow sapphics. Just how you felt about the romances. I would like to know. So thank you for watching this little bit different video. Please give me your thoughts. I'll see you guys next time.